There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. So happy to have you here today. So happy to be back. I was gone for vacation. Thank you guys for bearing with me while I was away. Really appreciate y'all showing up again today. Even after a couple of weeks of hiatus, we'll have one more little interruption in July for one more vacation. I always take 2 vacations in the summer. It's like the only time that I take off every year. So thank you guys for bearing with me. Thanks for continuing to show up, and thank you for being here. We are joined today by the wonderful Lacy. Thank you so much, Lisa, for taking the time out of your day to join us here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm excited about our conversation tonight.
Me too. I think it's going to be a good one. So, our topic today is all about performing fine and the emotional cost of performing wellness while secretly struggling. And those who know me know that that's something that I'm unfortunately good at. So we'll get all into that. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop those into the chat and we will answer them while we are here and live. And I know that we were having some audio issues before, so if, as Lisa is talking, if y'all feel I need to adjust her volume, please feel free to let me know that. Everything looks okay on my end, but I know sometimes it comes through a little bit differently. So y'all just let me know. Riverside changed some things. You know how I feel about changes in the programs that I use. So feel free to let me know if I need to adjust anything, and we'll move on from there. But like I said, today, my guest today is Lisa Lacy. She has spent over 3 decades in corporate education, healthcare consulting, and storytelling, which is a lot of fun. Before she started writing, I think that's a natural thing to go to. Before she started writing and speaking about something a lot of us know but really don't talk about out loud, and that's addiction, psychosis, trauma, and what she calls identity masking. And that's the gap between who you actually are and who you become just to get through the day. Lisa has spent years teaching trauma-informed emotional intelligence and addiction recovery centers across Georgia. She has published 2 workbooks. One of them hit #1 new release. And she's about to release her debut memoir as well, Notes from a Certified Madwoman, along with a companion guide. And we're looking forward to those coming out, or they may already be out for by the time you're hearing this, if you're not here with us live. So, but like I said, today we are talking about performing fine, and that's the cost of looking okay on the outside while you're quietly unraveling on the inside. And Lisa, again, just welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Always excited about expanding the conversations about this.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. I do have some social links and website if you guys want to connect with Lisa. Feel free to go ahead and pop through to any of these. I've got website, I've got LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. So feel free to just hop over there. If you do go and decide to connect, make sure that you're liking a post, make sure you're reposting a post, and make sure you're commenting on a post. That'll get her all up in your algorithm so that you can get the good content from her. But Lisa, I would love to just open up by finding out what made you become interested in specializing in mental health.
Because I have to manage the rest of my life, and it just makes sense to pay any information forward. One thing about my journey is I was fortunate enough to get very good, high quality care. In some situations, I will say, in some situations, it wasn't as high quality, but not everybody can. There are very long waiting lists for dialectical behavioral therapy and CBT programs. There are waiting lists for therapists. They're very expensive. Sometimes people don't have time. So there's a lot of barriers in the way of people getting good mental health support, especially in crisis situations.
Yeah. So you didn't specialize in mental health from the very start. When did you make that switch?
I started inpatient rehab at 40 years old. I am now 50, just turned the big 50. So my healing journey has been about 10 years, and I would hit spots on and off previous to that, but nothing long term, not achieving long term sobriety, except for the last 10 years from 40 to 50.
Yeah. It's neat to me to hear whenever someone makes a big life change, like changing their entire trajectory of what they want to do to support themselves for a living, and it's just basing it on life experience is something that I think helps you connect really deeply as a writer. I'm sure you find that that's something that it's probably a little easier to write about in some ways, but then also harder in some ways because you're getting super deep and super personal all the freaking time. And that's got to be a little annoying and a little difficult. So, yeah.
You nailed it. You nailed it. It's a little of both. There is this catharsis, but there's also this realization that, right now it's just my publisher, my editor, early readers. But come October, when we're in pre-sale, and then once we hit that November 1st launch date, there's going to be another practice in vulnerability, because once it's out, right?
Yeah.
And some of these stories were the ones that I thought that needed to be told the most, because they were the ones that were surrounded in the most guilt and shame. And the realization that I came to was that I can't be the only one struggling behind the scenes, or have struggled behind the scenes. So it was important.
Yeah. I love that. I can't be the only one. It's a big reason why I also started sharing my story. And it's like I can't be the only one. Well, I really truly wasn't the only one. I had a lot of friends and family going through the same thing at the same time with one of the major crises in my life. But at the same time, even with things like postpartum depression, it's like I can't be the only one. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really difficult sometimes to talk about it. So kudos to you for owning all of it and putting it all out there. That takes a lot of guts, and I'm sure it's something that you're going to look at it once it comes out and go, boy, A, I'm glad that's really done, and B, I'm really proud of myself for putting it out there. So
I hope so. I hope so. That is the goal, anyway. That is the goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always. Is there a book or a movie or a game or a podcast or anything that has had a lasting impact on you?
The last one I read actually helped in the process of kind of, uh, uh, the stories kind of wrote themselves because they've already happened, and they were the ones that stood out the most. But organizing them and structuring them, the War of Art, by Stephen. What is Stephen's last name? The War of Art. Penfield? No. No,
Pressfield.
Pressfield. Thank you so much. It's a great, great book, because in it there are no excuses allowed. He just says, if you're a writer, get up and write. If you're an artist, get up and paint. Sometimes you have to act like a professional before you're even getting paid for it, and make it part of your job. But just get up and do it. So it was a little kick in the pants right when I needed it. Don't we always get those? So great book for anybody who is creative in any way. Even in the corporate environment, there's opportunities to be creative. So it's an easy read, half night read, highly recommend.
I love that. I'm always looking for an
Yeah.
easy read, and it sounds like it's one of those that's nonfiction, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Which one of my goals this year that I am woefully behind. It's halfway through the year, and I haven't read a single nonfiction book, and I made a goal for myself to read at least 3, so I got to get on it.
Well, he might be a good one for you. It'll be a very, very easy read. Yeah,
Good,
half
good.
night.
Okay,
Half
all
night,
right.
guarantee you. And then
I'll
you check in the box.
Yep, I got to check that box, 100%. I read lots. I read tons and tons and tons, but just not nonfiction. And I have nonfiction books on my nightstand waiting. I keep picking one up, going, I'm
I
going to
got a
read
little
some of you
dust
today.
on them.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I'll have to add that one for sure.
Okay, good.
What's
Good.
something that folks are always surprised to learn about you?
I'm a martial artist. Fun fact, I've trained for 11 years. I have belts in 3 different disciplines: Filipino Kusho, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and Karate. So, and it was interesting. I started martial arts to learn how to fight right, fight well. And after training, you then decide you don't want to fight, right? The end goal is not fighting. The goal is to dissipate aggressive energy and stay scary calm and emotionally regulated as much as you can. I mean, no matter how much of this work that you do, you're going to get rewounded. So it's just a matter of managing that, so it doesn't affect your life negatively. And so it certainly doesn't become about your reaction instead of the original, jerk hat behavior that happened to you. I can't tell you how many times that used to happen to me. So not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, I love that. My youngest does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. And it's one of those
Nice.
things that I think he gets more out of the relationships that he's building in the
Hmm.
gym and with his friends that are all his age and everything. We even went to a competition and he had an opportunity to, spar with some folks who he had either never met or had met only at competitions. And, they just spend the whole time, he's 12, so they spend the whole time talking to each
Yeah.
other and kind of giggling over on the sidelines. And I'm like, this is what
It's
it's
nice to
about. It's
see.
it's all about
Yeah.
the, okay, well, they're supporting each other even after a loss, and
Yes.
they're just getting in there and really having a good time. But I love it. Yeah, it's definitely less about the fighting once you get in there. It really is.
It is. It is. Your attitude changes, and it is
Yeah.
about the camaraderie and the human bonds and the connection and the strength and again the scary calm within you. So it's wonderful that you're starting him off so early.
Yeah. Look, he has to have something. he needs he
Don't
needs
we all?
something. We actually tried quite
Don't
a
we
bit.
all?
Yeah, we tried quite a bit
Oh.
of we tried soccer, we tried t-ball, we tried several different things to try and get him, but
Oh,
yeah,
really?
judo's the
You
one that
so
stuck, and then now he's added jujitsu, and so it's been
very
great. I
cool.
love it. I love it.
Great combo. Great combo for sure.
Oh, we touched on this earlier, but you spent decades in corporate and healthcare work. What did a normal day look like during that time, and where did performing fine, air quotes here for those only listening, where did performing fine start for you?
Well, sometimes a normal day would be being in boardrooms in front of nothing but physicians. The physician who is head of the entire facility. Um, it could be going into my office 9 to 5, work, 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 work. You know, hustle, hustle, hustle. It was a lot about productivity. How much can you produce? How fast can you produce it? And what kind of quality can you produce it for? So very stressful environments when you think about it. It required traveling. So for the
Mm.
first 10 years of my career, of my consulting career, I traveled, and that takes a toll on you too. Eventually, it's very lonely. You get very tired, but it was necessary. And then I was able to go remote, kind of before remote was even a thing. So that was cool.
Before it was a cool thing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Do you think that performing fine is always a bad thing, or does it serve, is there a purpose for it sometimes? And I guess also, what does it cost a person to be good at hiding how bad things are for them?
Well, I think we we're all going to perform a little bit differently depending on our environment. In other words, if we're still grieving a loss and we have to go to a board meeting, we may not want to break down in that board meeting, but if we do, it has to be okay because we're going to grieve how we grieve.
Yeah.
So I think to some extent, we all act a little bit differently depending on what situation we're in. My personal practice right now and with my clients is to get all identities dropped, all roles dropped, and find congruence. In other words, am I the same person in this arena, and this arena? Because then we are really being our authentic selves, and I really think people can feel that. They know, like, and trust that better. It makes you a better leader. So, do we put a mask on a little bit? Yeah, you're gonna say stuff at home to your partner when it's just you and you have an inside joke that you're not gonna say to your boss in a board meeting. So yes, we do that. But my uh, the freedom that comes from congruence is what happens when you drop those identities and you drop those masks and you drop those roles. Those attaching to those roles can be pretty scary because it can put you in an awful place. If all you've identified yourself as a mom and empty nest time comes, it's going to be really hard on you.
Yeah.
Finding that person who who is now, because we're always going, who are we becoming? Well, great question. Or we're going, can I go back to where I was before all this happened? And I certainly don't want to be her. She got me into a lot of trouble, a lot of trouble. So we need to find out who we are now.
Yeah. I think of my oldest who's in college right now to become an elementary school teacher. He wants to teach 4th to 8th grade English, and bless him so much for that.
Yes, exactly.
But I feel like he is really going to have to kind of put a bit of a mask on when you're dealing with 4th to
Mm.
8th graders. There's definitely a level of acceptable that you have to be putting forward. And then when you're dealing with the parents, there's a level of a mask that's going to have to go up to kind of make sure that you're presenting yourself in a certain way. Is that part of what you're talking about here? I mean, it's not completely congruent with who you are as a person, but it's your job.
No, the mask that's dangerous is the one that looks polished and beautiful veneer on the outside, and you've got the six figures, you've got the car, you've got the perfect little blended family on all your socials, and you are shriveling up on the inside behind the scenes. That's the
Mm,
dangerous mask to wear. The silent suffering mask.
yeah. So it's not necessarily just everybody who has to adjust to a different situation.
No, no. Who I speak to, especially in these long form conversations, hopefully it gets out there to somebody who is putting up that facade because it's just a veneer and struggling behind the scenes, and one, not telling themselves, they may not even know yet,
Mm,
and two, certainly not telling somebody else if they are aware of it. Because if you're in isolation with it, there will be an eventual crash. And it's
yeah.
just a matter of when and how bad the crash is going to be.
So I've heard that called being high functioning. Like you're when I was in some of my darkest depressions, it was my therapist would always say, "Well, it's you're a high functioning depressed person," and that's kind of all that there is to it. Yeah, you're doing everything you need to do, and no one knows that at work because you're high functioning. So why do you think high functioning people are maybe less checked on than other folks?
Because sometimes it can look like success from the outside,
Mm,
and again, checks in the boxes. Oh, well, she checks all the boxes off. Everything's taken care of.
yeah.
Right? So what is there to check on? Everything's taken care of. Everything must be fine, like you
Mm-hmm.
said in the beginning, when it's not. And we have, especially those of us that are high functioning, we're the ones that get the things done. We we get the list done for ourselves and for others. And I think sometimes we feel shame about struggling because we are the ones that, or guilt at least, if not shame at that heavy vibration, guilt at least. But we're the ones less likely to tell somebody. Sometimes it's because we don't know, sometimes it's because there's shame attached, and sometimes because there's not a safe person to tell.
I think shame is a really big one that it's hard. So I mentioned postpartum depression earlier, and it's hard to kind of detach from, all right, you're going through this thing and you're responsible for someone else's life, especially at that point, and you shouldn't be struggling like this. But it's not that you shouldn't be struggling like this because that's a very common struggle. So how do you get past the shame of it?
You have to be brutally honest with yourself first.
Mm,
I think that helps more than actually getting it out. And getting it out is important, whether it's in a journal, whether it's on notes on your phone, whether it's a safe person. And then hopefully, with that safe person, you can figure out what next steps are. Is it the clinical therapeutic arena that I need to go? Is it a transformational coach that I need to find? But I think being brutally honest with yourself and listening to places like this, finding support groups that are normalizing conversations around it so
mm,
that you hear a lot. It's okay for everyone to struggle because guess what? We all do.
yeah.
We all do. We are not the exception. In our guilt and in our shame, I think we think we're the only ones. We are not the exception. And so it's okay to struggle. But I think the important part is if we do Look for that external validation from somebody else. Please, by all means, make sure it's a safe person, somebody that is proven to support you, inspire you, uplift you, all the things that make you feel good, not drained, and certainly not judged. Because if you do open up and it's somebody that's going to throw some judgment, then you may shut down, you may go back out, you may not try again.
Yeah.
So, and if it doesn't work the first time, try again.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily go to someone and then they're super judgy, and you're like, "Well, I'm never sharing that shit again."
Yeah.
Forget that.
It'll be like, nope, okay, no, we're done. That didn't work.
Yeah,
Back out. Okay, see you guys later. Yep,
over
exactly.
that. So, if
Mm-hmm.
you have someone who is high functioning in your life, is there something that you can say or do that could actually help them instead of making it worse?
I think letting them know what you observe in a loving and direct way is super helpful. Because again, I didn't know I was struggling. One, I didn't have language for it. Two, I was so
Mm,
busy being a workaholic as a coping mechanism that I kind of missed some of the stuff that was going on around me. But I think supporting them, first of all, asking them what they need for support is really important. Be sure if you're going to share your observations, ask your permission unless you want a really nasty argument on your hands.
yeah.
Just say, hey, I've got something I observed. Can I share it with you? I see this and this and this and want to be here. How can I best support you through that? Is a beautiful question.
Yeah. I mean, asking someone how you can support them, I think, is really helpful. But you're right, saying ahead of time, hey, can I share something that I've observed? Because if you just start in on me with, like, you seem like you're having a hard time, I'd be like, whatever. I'm not having a hard time.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're having a hard
yeah.
time. My bills are
Immediate.
paid. Yeah.
Not
We
me.
go. And then we go into our checklist of high functioning, right?
Yeah.
Because I've got this and this and this and this and this. So,
Yeah.
yeah, unsolicited advice is the fastest way to put somebody on the defensive. So, just
Absolutely.
make sure you're going, hey, I love you. I want to support you. Are you open to an observation? And they
Hmm.
may say no.
Yeah.
And no is a boundary and needs to be respected as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about saying, okay, I'm managing everything, I'm hiding this even from myself. What is there a difference between that performing fine for other people versus the performing fine even for yourself?
I think that's where it begins. If you can at least, when you're in those still moments with yourself, at least look around and go, man, this isn't what I planned. This isn't what I want. That's where it begins. That moment.
Yeah.
That moment that you allow yourself to get super super still and you really listen to yourself because we know we have the best answers for ourselves than anyone else does. Do we need support on this journey? Absolutely, but we have our own answers, all of them. They are here. Whether they're coming from whatever that is for you, source, God, goddess, divine, energy, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, you, your higher self, subconscious, whatever that is, we do have the answer. Our body has the answer. We just have to hear it, be still enough to hear it, and then act upon it.
Yeah.
Be brave enough to act upon it, even if sometimes it may not make the most logical sense.
Yeah. And there are plenty of times where it doesn't make the most logical sense to other people, but maybe it makes the
Mm.
most logical sense to you.
And maybe the most logical sense is, well, my intuition told me, and I'm just gonna follow it this time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sound crazy to everybody, and get really good at being misunderstood in this process. I spent a lot of time trying to explain myself and explain the story and explain the why and explain the context because there were so many years that I didn't have choice to explain that. Some people, no matter what, are going to judge you. You know, they're going to write their own stories about you. So Get okay with being misunderstood. Not everybody has to understand you. As long as you understand yourself, then it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. I want to get into your story a little bit more, because I'm sure there are folks listening who aren't necessarily familiar with your story, but psychosis is a word that you're using a couple of times in your book, and it's a part of your story as well. So that's a word that some people are scared to even say out loud whenever they're talking to someone. Is there anything you would want folks to understand about some of your experiences that they're not getting from things like movies or headlines?
Well, I think it's important. It's really hard to support somebody who struggles with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be that loved one. It's hard to be that loved one who struggles with somebody in addiction, in active addiction, and even then in recovery, because even in my recovery from addiction, some people have not made that transition to, oh, she's really really clean now with long-term sobriety under her belt. So for me, all I can speak of is from my lived experience. But for me, psychosis was me in another reality. So I think people really need to understand that. And when we are in that, or when I was in that reality, that was real to me.
Yeah.
Everything. Still to this day, I have a hard time going, whoa, that wasn't happening, because I still believe that was happening. So for loved ones, you cannot love a person out of mental health crisis. So it's really important, because we kind of missed the boat on some steps in our process. Have a plan that you're going to implement should a crisis happen, and know when it's above your pay grade. Know when it's time to tap out, right? Like they say in BJJ, tap out and get some additional support under your belt. Yeah.
It can be hard to identify when it's time though. It can be really
Well,
difficult.
you especially if you want to fix it, and
Yes.
your heart aches for them, and if you're the fixer, right? You might be the fixer. There might be some stuff you can work on too in the process. And that's another thing. If the whole unit works together to heal, because chances are, if one person's ill in some capacity, other people in the family are struggling in some other
Hmm.
ways. So if everybody heals together, man, what a beautiful thing that is.
Yeah. Or they're
Yeah.
at least impacted, right? Whether they're
Yes.
whether they're on the full struggle side of things or not, or whether they're experiencing their own things that they need to get taken care of. If one person in the family is struggling, then everyone else is impacted in some way.
Yes.
And you might not realize it. You might not even kind of put it together until you really sit down and start asking those questions. But
Yeah.
and that can be hard. As a mom, it can be really hard to sit down and talk to your kids and be like, "Hey, I had a hard time." And I'm sure
Mm.
that impacted you not in a great way, because
Yeah.
you're right there. You're admitting a little bit of failure, not necessarily like, "Oh, I have failed as a mother," but like everybody has bad days, first of all. But yeah, that can be
Well, I
really difficult.
traumatized my child. I can look back and say that. But at the same time, I was always trying to do my best.
Yes.
And still, I traumatized my child. So I think mom guilt is one of the nastiest forms of guilt we can have, because it's the job that we're always trying to do our hardest, but always feeling like we're failing at.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yep, absolutely agree with that, unfortunately. Now, when you did kind of pivot your whole career and trajectory and everything, you started to teach emotional intelligence to folks in recovery, and you've done that for years. Is there anything that they were able to teach you back, and is there maybe a tool that that work gave you that anybody could use, even if they're nowhere near rock bottom?
I think willingness and curiosity are two of the most important emotional intelligence skills that get missed or overlooked. And what it taught me was that, and science and studies now tell us that EQ is a better indicator of success and happiness than is IQ. Um, I find that with a higher emotional intelligence, your relationships are going to get so much better. That's what I think raising our emotional intelligence does the most. And check this out. If you have toxic relationships, as did I, everyone I was in was toxic. I was a little toxic too. And see,
Mm.
there's that brutal honesty about, whoa, if they're toxic, I might be a little toxic too. So I think getting brutally honest in order to ditch the ones that are draining you, pull in the good ones that are going to lift and support you, and then get some of that forward trajectory.
I love that. I just shared some research from Harvard talking about the EQ versus IQ, and that's the National Bureau of Economic Research as well. So feel free to click through on that and see what you can learn. 'Cause that's something I always love looking at the studies and going, okay, well, how did they even determine that?
I know,
How did
I
they figure that
know,
out?
but well, and it makes perfect sense. And I so wish we were. Sorry, guys, my contacts are moving around on me. It's the last pair I had in the pack. Um, and we should be taught these things in eighth grade. It'd be
Yeah.
brilliant, right? In eighth grade, taught a class on boundaries, taught a class on our wants and needs, and that we deserve to have them, and what are our values, and how to use those values in making decisions, especially with partners. You know, my friends, the partner you choose is going to impact your life tremendously. So choose wisely. That's why I think raising your emotional intelligence is going to help you pick up on any of those red flags. If somebody's out of alignment for you, they don't quite fit, then you'll know a little bit faster. But yeah, that's what I noticed. When people emotionally regulate, their relationships improve and they manage themselves 110% better.
Yeah. You mentioned the curiosity piece as well. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, I think if the goal is like happiness and joy and ecstasy, that's like the top of the roller coaster ride, right? And I don't, for me, I don't know about other people, but I can't stay on the top of the roller coaster all day long. It's just
Hmm.
not going to happen. Those are two, on David L. Harkin's map of consciousness, those are two very high emotions. They range at about a 500. So the reason I always talk about willingness and curiosity is they sit right in the middle of that map. And it's easier. More words like contentment, words like satisfaction, words like sitting in liminal space where things are just okay. Nothing's wrong, but nothing's great. It's just okay. But see, what do we call that? We call that boring, or those of us that are used to chaos and trauma, we call that, oh, let me go stir up some trouble here because it's too quiet, right? So, yeah, liminal space, curiosity about what's coming next instead of fear of, oh, the other shoe's going to drop on me because it always did before.
Mm.
That's how we change it. If we change the story we're telling ourselves, because if we're telling the same old story, that pattern is going to be on that loop that is playing in our minds
Self-perpetuating there by then.
all day long.
Yeah.
And I know it because I was there. Because when I first started reframing my thoughts, it started with one thought. Um, this was the loop. You're so stupid. You're such an F up. You're never going to have healthy relationships. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. And I would catch myself and I'd be like, wow, I am really nasty to myself. I am very not nice to myself. And so it was the coolest thing ever. Started with one thought. And then I replaced that thought. And then the other thoughts started reframing. And now I have a new default. I don't wake up in the morning going, oh my God, how am I going to face this day? I hate this, F this. I wake up, I'm not doing cartwheels because, it's morning and I need coffee and I need some time before I talk to people. But
Amen.
I wake up and I wake up and I'm ready to at least tackle what is in front of me and necessary for that day.
Yeah. I feel like the curiosity also helps on the other side of it. If you have someone that you're trying to be that safe person for, approaching things from of curiosity standpoint is such a different thing from, you mentioned the fixer, like you're trying to fix everything. It's such a different thing of trying to just immediately go in and be like, how can I help you fix your life? It's just that curiosity of what's going on with you? Like, how can I understand you better? And then
Yeah.
the support kind of naturally follows whenever you're approaching it from that direction. So
Well,
I love
because it
that.
lacks judgment. There's no
Yeah.
judgment tied to it. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You talk about the difference between who people really are and who they become to survive. How does someone start to close that gap?
Acknowledgement, awareness, and observation are the
Mm.
first steps. Here's the cool part: observation is not neutral. That is quantum mechanics, that's quantum physics. So, what that means is the minute we notice that, say, for instance, we became a people pleaser as an adaptation for survival, we needed to be the kid who avoided the chaos by making sure everybody was okay. Let me do this for you. Let me do this. What do you need? What do you need? At the expense of our own. So I think identifying that awareness is 75% of the work. I think we overcomplicate it. I think we overwork it. Sometimes just noticing that it exists is the work, and then we can let it go. But then we've got to journal. You don't have to journal for 365 days and meditate for 5 hours a day. I wish we could all do that, but it's not realistic.
There's not enough time. There's not enough time for
Nope.
that.
Not
For
for
everyone.
not for us moms. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. No.
Very, very true. Now, a skeptic might say that trauma and mental health content has become its own industry. And I'm going to mention, the books and the workbooks and the retreats and some of that, you've already started to contribute to. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but how do you make sure that your work doesn't become another version of inspiration porn just dressed up as honesty?
Yeah, I think we we all have trauma.
Hmm.
It's part of the human experience. We're not getting out of it. Um, to varying degrees for obvious reasons. Once we hear people's stories, some people are going to have more severe trauma, but we all have it. We're not getting out of it. The same thing can happen to you and happen to me, and it can affect us completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So, but some people don't need to work on theirs. Some people are quite fine with where they are. Now, we can look at them and go, whoa, you might need to work on this a little bit. But what are they going to do? They're going to go, nope. I may or may not be talking about some family members here. So this may be a true story. So, yes, some people are going to work on their stuff in this lifetime. Some people aren't. So if you're not going to work on it, cool. What then we have to do, those of us on this growth trajectory, have to meet people where they are, or they're going to drive us batty. People will drive you batty if they're not on the growth path, because they're not going to do this work this time around, and we're trying to fix them or change them or fall into all of those roles. So um, and as far as inspiration porn, definitely not getting that from me. This is more like kind of a kick in the pants. This is more like I felt like it was necessary to give an insider's view on the psychiatric arena as a psychiatric patient, because some of the things are still a little inhumane in terms of keeping our dignity while we're trying to heal from a mental health crisis. So I thought that was very, very important. And early readers were like, well, I identify myself in this story and pieces of this story. And so the field guide companion came along because we needed a safe place for them to land
Mm.
as the stuff comes up. So what we did was we took a chapter of the memoir and then just put some reflection exercises, grounding exercises in case something does come up for people. But yeah, you're not going to get false positivity from me. So sorry. It just didn't work for me. It
Yeah.
works for some people, though. It
Hmm.
really does. Some people can mantra their way into almost anything, and that's brilliant. And that's another one of my philosophies: is it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
It took a lot of modalities for me. It could take one for you. And I think so many times say somebody tries AA, somebody's out there struggling with addiction, they try AA and they're going, this isn't working, I'm relapsing, I'm relapsing, I'm relapsing. By the way, most addicts will relapse a minimum of 7-ish times before they achieve long-term sobriety. There is no shame attached to that. But say it's not working for you. Instead of blaming yourself, take a look and go, oh, there's other models out there. There's smart recovery, there's Dharma recovery, there's refuge recovery, there's I'm missing one. They're all free. They have online programs. I believe some of them have in-person programs. So there are so many modalities for healing. If one doesn't work, find one that does for you. Yeah. Instead of blaming yourself and saying, I got it wrong, because then we lose people.
Yeah.
We lose them. They go back out or they give up on the growth program they were in. And we want to keep people. That should be our goal, to keep our people. Yeah.
It definitely can't be one size fits all because there wouldn't be all of these different ones if it was one size fits all. And I know that that's a hard thing sometimes for folks to realize is like, okay, well, it didn't work. Doesn't mean nothing's going to work. It just means that that one thing didn't work. You know, I tried therapy and I thought, wow, therapy sucks. I'm never doing that again. But it was just that one therapist. And years later, I did go back and I tried with another therapist. I was at the end of my rope. And it was just one of those things. And it's like, okay, well, let's give this one more thing a try again. And I'm glad that I did because it was an entirely different experience. But if I had just decided, oh, that's never going to work, you know, I wouldn't have given it another try. So it can't be one size fits all. And I feel like a lot of what you do also is that you're honest about all of the parts of it. It's not like you're going, only look at this over here. Don't look at any of this over here. We're not going to look at that. We're not going to talk about it. You're really kind of putting as much of it out there as possible. And myself included, no one's going to share everything about their lives. Except for
some stories again, inside jokes with your partner, probably. You don't tell everybody those get to be yours. Some things in your life get to be your stories. They're yours. You get to keep them, and that's totally okay. But in a memoir, when you're writing a memoir, if you are holding back certain pieces that will deepen the story, your readers are going to know that. Right?
Yes.
So when you're writing, you do want to go there if you've opened up that story for exploration.
Absolutely. I am so sorry. I need to send a message over here because I keep hearing like an injured animal or something outside. So I'm just gonna send a message to my partner and see if he can go check it.
Yeah.
I'm like, did my dogs get out? And because this is the front yard over here for me. And they're supposed to be way over there. I don't think it's mine. They're much louder than that. But
that would concern me.
Sounds not great.
It would be hard for me to focus. You're good. You're good.
Yes. But no, there's always going to be some things that you're holding back. There's always going to be some things that you're not necessarily sharing. But a lot of what you do, I feel like, is provide that honesty and say, look, it's not going to be perfect for everything that I've gone through. Wouldn't be perfect for another person who, even if they had gone through the exact same thing. Everything that worked for me might not work for them. And I think that's a really important point. And that's part of what keeps it from becoming that toxic positivity is the ability to say, everything that I'm saying might not work for you. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. That's part of your story.
So, and build your own toolbox. Pick and choose. Take a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, a little of that. And build your own toolbox that works for you, you know?
Yep. I like that. And I'll add, we've talked about this before, but try to build that toolbox when you're not at your lowest, when it's not your absolute darkest. Like if you're in
you need it.
Yes.
You need it when you hit those lows.
You're gonna need it. You're gonna hit a low in life. Like even if your low is a high for me, if your low is a high for me, you're gonna hit a low of some sort. And whenever that day comes, you need to have already thought about, well, what would I need on a day where I really feel like I'm struggling? If someone comes to me and says, How can I help you? Is there something that you need support on? I don't want to be stuck going, I don't know. I don't know how anyone can help me. I want to have an answer, be like, you know what, a cup of tea, even if it's something small, a cup of tea makes me feel better. Can you please just make
Mm-hmm.
me a cup of tea? And,
Yeah.
but identifying that now, because if you ask me whenever I'm super depressed or super anxious or borderline panic attack, I'm not going to be able to answer that question if I haven't already thought about it. So
No.
when you're
Well, and
not
you
at your
bring up
darkest.
when you're not at your darkest, and you bring up a good point. You can do this work for years. You're still going to have down days.
Yes.
They're still going to come. They're going to come. You know, some days, my days are, what'd you do today? Well, I breathed through the
Mhm.
day, which means I survived it. And I stayed clean, I stayed sober, and now it's time for bed, and we'll try to make tomorrow
Yes.
better. So some days, even no matter how much of this work you have done, are still going to be heavy days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If there is somebody out there who is listening to all of this and they're in the middle of like, I am definitely performing fine right now, what's
Mm.
something that you would want them to know?
To celebrate that they just got brutally honest with themselves,
Mm.
because if they're acknowledging, I've been, my whole life has been a performance of I'm okay when I'm really not, that is step one. And to celebrate that, because again, acknowledgement is not neutral. Acknowledgement has already, once you say that aloud, you've already started the process of changing it. And then the next step, I would absolutely recommend find your safest person in your circle to go to and tell them, hey, I may look okay, but I'm struggling with this relationship, or this is happening behind the scenes. And then you two collaborate and figure out what best next steps are. But if you don't know, ask the question, what did you perform in order to survive? And it's okay. These adaptations are brilliant. They're genius because they kept us alive, they kept us here. But my big question too is it still serving us? Because if it's not, then it can be put to rest, so to speak. we can
Yeah,
we can let it go, we can retire it. We no longer need it.
yeah, I like that. And you're talking about safe people, and you kind of ran down a list of a safe person. Can you just run that down again? Because I thought it was a fantastic list of what makes a safe
Yeah.
person.
So you want somebody who has had a history, shown you in the past that they are going to be supportive, uplifting, inspiring, ask you, hey, do you just need to vent right now? Are you open to my suggestions? That's a big one for me. A lot of survivors have had their choice taken from them.
Mm.
And so giving us our authority and our choice back really matters. So my friends and I have hey, I've got something heavy to share today. Can you hold it? And sometimes they can't.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're like, hell no, not today, can't do it. Go down the list. So I have a list of friends that I'll go down. But also, I got to tell you, sometimes that list, it's still just me and me.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes everybody's going to be busy. Sometimes maybe everybody on the list is going to be no. That's why in here needs to be the safest place possible for you.
Yeah. I really like that because you can, especially if you're in some relationships that aren't necessarily safe just as a whole, it can be hard to
Mm,
identify who is a safe person. And so I think having those criteria is really actually quite helpful for some people. It would have
thank you,
been
Amanda.
helpful for me. I mean, I did have a couple of people that I knew were safe because they had proven to me in other situations that they were safe. So I like that a lot. Thank you for sharing that again.
Thank you.
Bitemark sent a question ahead of time. She would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
What is my favorite poem? I'm not much of a poetry buff, you guys. I am a self help book guru. So,
I do know, if it helps, I do know that she also includes songs in poetry. So if you have a
oh,
favorite
my
song, that
favorite song is
also counts.
Purple Rain. Purple Rain
Uh,
by Prince. It's my grieving song. Now, my grieving song is When Doves Cry. So,
I love when doves
but
cry.
Yeah, when doves cry makes me happy, and when I need to move some sadness, I'll put some Purple Rain on. So, yeah.
I
I
love
use
that.
music to another thing that a tool that may help you guys in terms of when we're talking about identities and masks is, say you're in the boardroom and you're grieving. Maybe you just lost a pet, which is a family member as far as I'm concerned. And it's not the place to grieve. Something happens. I always try to revisit that moment now 24 to 48 hours after, so
Mm.
it doesn't become sticky, so it doesn't stay, so it doesn't become something that 10 years down the road I'm going, wow, this happened in the board meeting and I'm still talking about it 10 years later. So try to visit those emotions and moments that get sticky or we wound you or trigger you very quickly after, so they don't become trauma moving forward.
And what does that look like when you're revisiting a moment like that? What do you mean by that?
So I would set a timer for an hour and say play really, really, really sad music for that hour. Or I would
Okay.
set a timer for 15 minutes and move and dance, right? To get it out, up and out of my body. So, but I set a time to visit that emotion, visit that person who did it, replay that conversation of, oh, I should have, would have, could have, I wish I could have said in my head for an hour. But then when your hour is done, when the beep, beep, beep goes off, you got to be done with it. No more replaying the conversation a week later. No more, because some of our suffering we do to ourselves needlessly.
Yeah. Yeah. When
But
and
thank you
then
for the question. I wish I had a poem for you.
no, that's
I
okay.
do write my own slam poetry, though,
I
ironically.
love
Yeah.
that. I love that. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I think giving yourself a time and then whenever it comes up again, just reminding yourself like, no, you dealt with that. You've already
Yeah.
dealt with that. We're not doing
Yeah.
that again. Because
That's
I,
a hard no.
yeah,
No, it's about
no.
boundaries for yourself, too.
Cut it off, cut it off, cut it off. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite life hack?
Breath, breathing,
Mm.
exhaling though, exhaling first. I had read a study and I can't remember where. 25% of us, if we inhale first when we're feeling anxious, it can actually make us feel more anxious. So for me, exhales have been a life giver, you guys. So when you will see me in mid sentence going, now, people may find it weird. Don't care. Needed, you know? It's those situations where I'm trying to decide, is this something where I want to tell them I'm not comfortable with this or I don't want to be here? But big sighs out. Feels so good. And it gets you embodied. So, embodiment is the life hack. Because I was cut off from my own body for so long, from the sensations in it. And, I've got a congenital blood disease that I have to deal with, all the blood clotting that I've had to deal with. So, part of that, I believe, was because I was so disconnected from my body.
Mm,
Now I have to. My body has said, we will make you listen. We will
yeah,
make you listen. So listen to your body, exhale when needed. They really, really, really help. Deep exhales all the way down to the bottom of your belly.
I like that. One of the things when I did my mental health first aid training, this was years ago. I probably need to re up it, but one of the things they talked about was the exhale part of the breathing. And anytime you're breathing and you're doing those exhales, to make sure that like you are completely emptying your lungs
Mm-hmm.
of breath. It's not a,
Yeah.
okay, you're breathing out. It's a, you're trying to get all the air out of your body. And just having that be a part of it is, I never connected that it would be really important, but it can really help you focus a little more on how deeply you are breathing and how where in the body is your breath being held. Obviously, you think of it as in your lungs, but the way you hold your entire abdomen is affecting where your breath is held. So, yeah,
Oh
that's great.
yeah. I love that us stubborn ones, it takes us years later. We're like years later, like, oh yeah, they were right.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Story for another day. I was in a spiritual cult once and my therapist was like, she was in January. She's like, Lisa, you're in a spiritual cult. I was like, I'm too smart for that. That's what I said to my
Oh,
therapist. by December, I call her. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a spiritual cult. There's a bunch of witches after me. What am I gonna do? Yeah. So it takes us when it takes us,
Yeah.
And sometimes that's why I love podcasts too, because what we're doing is we're just planting those little nuggets, and
Hmm.
maybe maybe our nugget's not going to be the one that people eat, but 5 years down the road, somebody else says the same thing and it lands.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. No, I now I want to know all about this spiritual cult.
It's a story for another day. Have I
Yes.
put it? It is in the memoir. It's in the memoir, so you'll have to pick up
Okay.
the
Well,
memoir.
there you go.
Yeah.
There now see, there's if you as if you needed another reason to pick up the memoir when it comes out in October. Make sure that you do, because now you can read about being in a spiritual cult and not realizing it. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it is time for the magic moment of the stream, and I'm going to get my magic wand out. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental health, what would it be?
Mm. That we're defective.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that it's somehow a moral choice of ours.
Ah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's a
I really wish we would all be approached a little bit differently. Because in my
absolutely.
hospitalizations with my physical health stuff, the minute people would see the psychological chart, you could see their faces change
Oh,
once they read the psychiatric parts of my chart. So, yeah, it's not a moral choice. And it
hmm.
exists. It's real.
Yes.
It's real. Yes. That's
Well,
it. We'll leave it at that. It's real. It exists.
yep, that's a good one. And a big one too.
Hmm.
I feel like, sorry, that sound is still
I
happening.
heard that.
Did you hear that one?
I heard that one.
See?
Has that been going on the whole
Not
time?
the whole
Oh my
time,
God.
but
You've been doing such a great job of not being
for the
distracted.
past like 15 minutes, I'm like, what is that one was closer.
Wow.
You know what I'll bet it is with it getting closer and sounding like that? I'll bet it's a fox.
Oh,
If I could hear it again without my headphones on, I'd be able to tell you, but yeah, they can sound like they're like someone is dying outside. We
oh.
had one. I lived at another house, and there was a river that ran right behind my house, and there were foxes, and I knew there were foxes. Well, one night they really screamed, and I thought a woman was being murdered, and I
Oh
was like,
no.
"Oh my God!" And so it wound up being just a fox.
Wow.
Eh,
Well, it might be
But
foxes, but I heard it too.
oh,
It's not all in your head.
it's not just me. I'm like, there is something going. Either there are kids out there playing around too late to be playing around, or that's probably a fox. But now I'll have to go outside and check it out. Of course, it doesn't
Oh, for
happen.
sure. That's a
Yeah,
checkout
yes,
moment.
most
Yeah, for
definitely.
sure.
Well, sorry, got a little distracted there, but we're specialists at getting distracted here, so
Hmm.
it's all good. I'm going to share your links one more time for everybody who is here. If anybody has any questions about performing fine, this is your last chance to get them into the chat. Make sure that you do, and we'll address them. While I share these socials, Lisa, if you have anything you want to share as far as resources or things that you're working on, I know you mentioned your memoir. If you want to talk about that a little bit more, I'll just hand the floor over to you while I post these.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll go ahead and post them because that's what I'm going to say. Go to my website, lisalacy.com, really easy. You can find me there. You can find my email address there. I love to hear your stories, so send those to me. And really get on the pre-sale list. Book's going to be hopefully